If you're on a GLP-1, you may have noticed something that's it's kind of hard to explain. And if you're thinking about starting, hopefully this will give you a clearer picture of what might shift, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. Today, we're going to talk about what's really happening up here, how your brain structures shift on a GLP-1, why it matters, and how to use that change to build habits that actually become sustainable. I'm going to walk you through how your hunger signals shift, why food doesn't feel as emotionally charged anymore, and how your ability to pause and make decisions, it gets stronger. Most people think GLP-1 medications just help you eat less, but that's only part of the story. These medications also affect your brain, and that's where the most powerful shifts take place. So let's dig deeper into the actual parts of your brain being affected and how that shows up in your day-to-day life, whether you're on a GLP-1 or still considering it. If you're just starting or thinking about starting, this will give you a glimpse into how your brain and body may begin to work together in new ways. The hypothalamus plays a central role in regulating your appetite. Before starting a GLP-1, your hunger and satisfaction cues might have felt out of sync. You might have eaten a full meal and still felt like something was missing. You may have even gone hours thinking about your next snack or meal, wondering why your body never seemed to get the "I'm satisfied" message. That experience isn't about willpower, it's about biology. Leptin and ghrelin are the hunger and fullness hormones. And when they aren't communicating clearly with your hypothalamus, it can feel like a constant battle. GLP-1s help restore some of that communication. They allow the hypothalamus to respond more appropriately to satiety signals, which is why you might suddenly find yourself pushing the plate away and feeling done, even if there's food left. For many people, this is emotional. They're experiencing satisfaction for the first time in years. They're learning that food can serve them, providing nourishment and support rather than control them or dictate their emotions. That shift in hunger regulation, it isn't small. It's life-changing. Let's talk about your brain's reward center, the part that releases dopamine, that feel-good chemical when you're looking for pleasure or comfort. Food can trigger that, especially foods high in fat or sugar. Those light up your brain like a 4th of July fireworks show. That's why they can be so hard to resist. They give your brain that quick hit of relief. This is part of why emotional eating happens. You're not eating to nourish your body. You're eating to soothe your nervous system. That's a totally human response. When we feel anxious, lonely, bored, or stressed, our brain craves a hit of relief, and food is an easy, accessible source of that. GLP-1s can dampen this response. They don't just reduce appetite, they reduce anticipatory reward. That means your brain doesn't get as excited about food in the same way. You may still enjoy a treat, but it's less likely to pull you into that all consuming craving loop. This change can feel confusing at first. Some people describe it like losing a friend because food was their comfort, their joy, their escape. But it's also liberating. You're no longer chasing relief through food, and that opens the door for new coping tools. It gives you room to ask, what else can make me feel better right now? The prefrontal cortex is the part of your brain responsible for reflection, planning, and executive function. When you're functioning mostly from your limbic system, which is the emotional part of your brain, you act impulsively. But when your prefrontal cortex is more active, you can pause, consider, and respond intentionally. GLP-1s don't directly stimulate the prefrontal cortex, but by reducing noise from other systems, like hunger and craving, they give the cortex more space to operate. You're less reactive and more reflective. For example, let's say you've always eaten a sweet after lunch. It's not about hunger, it's about habit. But now, on a GLP-1, you finish lunch and you feel satisfied. The post-meal craving doesn't hit as hard. And in that space, your brain has time to ask, do I actually want this? That's your prefrontal cortex working. That's where your long-term goals can finally have a seat at the table. Not in a punishing or shaming way, but in a calm, curious, empowered way. This change doesn't always announce itself loudly. It's quiet, it's subtle, but it's powerful. And when you stack those small moments together, one pause after another, you start to rewire the way you live. Let's break this down into what you might feel. You no longer finish everything on your plate automatically. You forget about the snacks that used to call your name. You pause before reacting to a craving. You notice when you're satisfied instead of waiting to feel stuffed. Those are all brain shifts, not just behavior shifts. They're a sign that your nervous system is regulating differently. But here's the part many people miss. Just because a medication helps, it doesn't mean the old habits are gone. Your brain has practiced those patterns for years, decades even. It takes repetition, patience, and consistency to build new ones. That's why you might still eat when you're bored, get the urge to snack at a certain time of day, feel off if you don't eat dessert, even if you're not hungry. You're human, and your brain is trying to catch up to your new reality. Think of it like this: your hypothalamus is finely tuned in. Your dopamine system isn't chasing reward through food. Your prefrontal cortex has room to lead. So now it's your turn to meet your brain halfway. This is the perfect time to reinforce the patterns you do want. Try small things. Keep a food journal, not to track calories, but to learn your cues. Celebrate the moments when you paused, not just when you said no. Start noticing what satisfaction actually feels like. That's your brain adjusting to a new way of responding. You are not just losing weight, you're rebuilding trust with your body, your brain, and your ability to make choices. And even if it feels unfamiliar, that's a good thing. It means you're walking a new path. If you felt ashamed or confused by how food controlled you in the past, I want you to know it wasn't a failure. It was a brain doing its best to survive with the tools it had. Now you have new tools, and you have space to choose differently. Let's close with this. Your GLP-1 is not a magic fix, but it's a powerful ally. And when you combine it with understanding of your body, your brain, and your patterns, you create sustainable change. So take the pause, notice what's different, and start building the brain patterns that support the life you're creating. If today's video helped you understand your brain a little bit better, drop a brain emoji in the comments. And as always, remember, we can share our journeys, but we should never compare them. Bye.